I never imagined my background as a Navy SEAL would become relevant in a peaceful suburban neighborhood. But one afternoon, it all came flooding back in the most violent way. Three imposters, dressed as cops in tactical vests, burst onto my property claiming to enforce HOA regulations. And one of them committed the worst mistake of his life. He struck my wife Sarah directly in the ribs while attempting to restrain her. Before we get started, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story reaches. It began like any typical Friday. Sarah had just returned from the grocery store, the sound of her footsteps soft on the porch as she balanced several paper bags. I was in the living room, maintaining equipment and hearing the faint melody of her humming, until a black SUV pulled into our driveway. Three men emerged, all wearing tactical vests marked HOA Enforcement Unit. No authentic police badges, no official vehicle, just false authority and discount credentials. Sarah stopped cold as the first man, tall, sharp-featured, wearing dark sunglasses, approached her directly. "Ma'am, we're here under HOA authority. You broke Property Code 14C. Unauthorized exterior modifications," he stated. Sarah looked confused. "You mean the flower pots?" He dismissed her question. "We need to examine the property. Step aside." Sarah held her ground. "You're trespassing. You don't have a warrant, and this is private property. Under Texas Penal Code 30.05, that's illegal." Her voice was firm, composed, exactly how I trained her. But rather than retreating, he moved one step closer, his hand settling on his baton. When Sarah took out her phone to film, he knocked it from her hand, and then, with the same movement, struck the grocery bags from her arms. Apples scattered across the porch, and before she could even react, he drove his fist directly into her ribs. She cried out loud, the type of sound that triggers something deep inside your brain. I heard it, abandoned everything. My legs responded before my brain processed it. I rushed down the hallway directly to the drawer near the door. My M4 sat there, secured, lawful, and ready. The same rifle I practiced with for more than a decade. When I exploded out onto the porch, the men had Sarah trapped, two attempting to seize her arms while she struggled to breathe. I lifted the rifle, sights aimed. "Drop your equipment now." "You guys chose the wrong house," I said, aiming my M4 at them. "You've got 5 seconds to tell me who sent you." The tall one smirked. "The HOA president informed us you've been disregarding notices. We're here to ensure you follow the rules." That was all I needed to know. "Move away from my wife," I commanded. "You're trespassing, attacking a civilian, and pretending to be law enforcement." The leader turned around, sneering. "She's being detained for interfering with HOA enforcement." He didn't complete his sentence. The next sound was the click of the safety mechanism. The porch became silent except for the echo of my voice, low and measured. "You just committed the final mistake of your life." The moment his hand moved towards Sarah again, my finger pressed the trigger. 3 controlled bursts ripped through the air, the precise rhythm I drilled into muscle memory. 2 rounds connected clean, one in the shoulder, another in the thigh. The third man jumped behind the SUV, glass exploding as a bullet pierced through the side mirror. Sarah screamed again, falling back against the porch railing, gripping her ribs. "Get down!" I yelled, positioning myself in front of her. The 2 wounded men twisted on the driveway, one grasping his bleeding arm, swearing through clenched teeth. The leader, the tall one, dropped his fake baton, hands lifted halfway but still shouting, "You're finished, man. You just shot at officers." "Real ones don't wear toy gear," I shot back. He charged forward. Wrong move. I lowered the rifle to its sling and eliminated the distance. His punch came sloppy. I dodged, stepped inside, and launched a knee directly into his stomach. He doubled over, wheezing. My left hand seized his vest, hurled him against the SUV hood, and my elbow slammed across his jaw. He crumpled, moaning, totally finished. For several seconds, the only sound was the faint buzzing in my ears and the rasp of Sarah's breathing behind me. My vision narrowed, but training took over. Muzzle down, threats eliminated, secure the area. I kicked the weapons.
Fake batons and plastic handcuffs away from reach, then grabbed my phone from my pocket and dialed 911. This is a self-defense shooting. 3 individuals impersonating police officers, 1 wounded. My wife's been attacked. Sent deputies and EMS. Sarah braced herself next to me, still holding her ribs. Her eyes found mine, trembling but determined. They claimed they were HOA enforcement, she murmured. Not any longer, I said. Within minutes, sirens blared in the distance. Neighbors peeked out from porches, phones filming. The black SUV's engine clicked in the heat, bullet holes evident down its side. 2 county cruisers slammed to a stop at the end of the driveway. Deputies jumped out, guns raised. "Hands where we can see them," one shouted. I lifted my hands immediately, M4 slung down, palms visible. Shooter's me, Navy SEAL. Weapons secured, victims of impersonation and assault. One deputy addressed me. "Sir, you're claiming they impersonated law enforcement." "Yes, sir," I answered. "Under Texas Penal Code 37.11, that's a felony, and they attacked my wife under 22.01. The deputy nodded seriously. "You did what was necessary, defending her." They acted quickly, handcuffing the moaning suspects, treating their wounds and collecting the fake equipment. One deputy crouched to retrieve a cheap metal badge that said, "Community Enforcement Officer." He scoffed. "These morons printed this on a home printer." Sarah provided her statement, plus the video from my Ring camera capturing the entire incident. Then the sheriff himself showed up. Gray hair, steady eyes, hand positioned on his holster. He examined the suspects, then at me, then back at the destroyed SUV. "Looks like we've got ourselves quite the situation," he said. "Walk me through everything." And I did. Every violent second of it. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe because the story's only going to get more intense. By noon the following day, the story had circulated across the county. Sarah was in the hospital, 3 broken ribs, 1 nearly out of place. The attending physician documented blunt force trauma consistent with a closed fist impact. She was admitted for pain control and monitoring. And when I saw her laying there, injured but alive, something inside me turned ice cold. Meanwhile, the scene outside our house resembled something from a crime drama. Deputies had the location cordoned off, shell casings flagged, and the fake officers in lockup. The one I'd shot in the leg was treated, non-lethal round through the thigh, exactly as I'd trained for. The one with the shoulder wound was bandaged by EMTs. The third, the one I brought down with my hands, had a separated arm and a broken nose. All 3 were arrested that night. The charges were serious. The county prosecutor charged them with impersonating a peace officer under Texas Penal Code 37.11, aggravated assault with bodily injury, criminal trespass 30.05, and bail was rejected due to the violent nature of the crime and the use of counterfeit law enforcement equipment. But that wasn't where it ended. The next morning, the HOA president herself, Karen Ellis, marched up to my property with a camera crew from a local news station. She insisted I had fired on HOA enforcement contractors and that I was the one threatening the community. The audacity nearly made me laugh. 2 days later, I got a formal letter through my lawyer. Karen was launching a civil suit against me for reckless endangerment and property damage, claiming that her security officers were employed legally. My attorney, a former JAG officer, looked it over and smiled. This is going to explode in her face. In court, the evidence demolished her. Sarah's hospital files, my home security video showing the fake badges, the slap, the punch, and the assault. The SUV they operated registered to a shell company connected directly to the HOA's operating fund. The county forensic accountant followed the payment authorization straight to Karen's signature. When the DA completed his presentation, the courtroom went quiet. The judge addressed Karen, unimpressed. "Mrs. Ellis, You didn't hire licensed security, you hired criminals. Your lawsuit is thrown out, and you'll be confronting your own charges for conspiracy and misuse of HOA funds." "I didn't tell them to injure anyone," Karen sobbed. "I just instructed them to make sure the HOA rules were followed. I didn't know they'd actually assault her." But the jury wasn't convinced. The evidence demonstrated she planned everything. The gavel struck the desk hard. Prosecutors charged her with engaging in organized criminal activity, Texas Penal Code 71.02, conspiracy to commit aggravated assault 15.05, and criminal trespass 30.05, and bail was rejected due to the violent nature of the crime and the use of counterfeit law enforcement equipment. But that wasn't where it ended. The next morning, the HOA board convened an emergency meeting. She was dismissed unanimously. As for the fake officers, each pled guilty in exchange for lighter sentences, 10 years total for the leader, 7 for the others. The plea agreement required them to testify against Karen, confirming her own conviction. She received 5 years in state prison, lost her HOA position for life, and was mandated to pay $62,000 in damages to Sarah for medical expenses and emotional trauma, a felony conviction, and a lifetime ban from HOA leadership. Sarah returned home the next week. Her ribs were still wrapped, her movements careful, but her eyes sharp. I put my arm around her carefully. "They thought they could destroy us." She smiled back. They discovered who they were messing with. And that day, every neighbor on the block finally knew. No counterfeit badge, no authority trip, and no HOA president would ever challenge our boundary again.